Thank you, Marlo. Good morning, everybody. Good morning and welcome. I am Michelle M.V. Howard. I am the director of the Small Business Program Office here at WMATA, and I definitely want to bring greetings this morning from WMATA's General Manager, Mr. Randy Clark. I want to tell you just a little bit about, as members of the business community and residents of the Washington region, you, as these business owners, understand the importance of Metro in keeping your company and the entire region's economy strong. So, with our 91 rail stations across Maryland, Virginia, and the District of Columbia, and we have more than 1,500 operating buses on the 325 routes, Metro provides critical public transportation for the region. But our impact is much broader. So let me tell you a little bit. We knit the region together. We enable employment, housing, shopping, and entertainment across the communities. We boost property values and increase tax revenues near stations. We have safe workers with hundreds of thousands of hours each day. We also save families hundreds of millions of dollars per year in expenses. But Metro could not provide these regional benefits without the small business community support. You provide Metro with the tools and the services needed to keep the system running safely. So we rely on companies like yours to assist with the functions like IT, bus and rail maintenance, new construction, planning, and even real estate. So I want to thank you for participating today in WMATA Small Business Programs Office outreach from RFP to NTP, proven strategies for successful procurement presented by the one and only Mr. David Fisher. At WMATA, at WMATA, certification is the key to participation, and we encourage all those that are not certified small businesses to come on over and get certified with WMATA. We have 5 socioeconomic programs that you can be certified in. We have our 2 federal programs, Disadvantage and Small Business Enterprise. And if you don't know, we have some new programs that are non-federal. That's our Minority Business Enterprise, Small Business and Micro Business programs. So please check out our website and learn more about our programs because we are definitely open for business and we want you to be a part of our contracting opportunities. We want you to remember we are your Metro, the way forward. Make sure that you put all your questions in the chat and remember to fill out our surveys that will be sent to you after the outreach event. These surveys help us to plan events that can benefit or support your business growth. So thank you again. Right now, like I said, I want to talk about Mr. David Fisher, my guy. He is the manager of supply diversity for Hensel Phelps, and he provides small business program oversight to ensure full compliance with projects specific for SBE, MBE, and DBE requirements in the Mid-Atlantic region, totaling more than $2 billion of contracting opportunity. Additionally, he conducts extensive outreach efforts, small and local business partnering opportunities, and coordinates Hensel Phelps Community and Workforce Development Initiative. That's what I'm talking about. David leads Hensel Phelps Technical Assistance Program to help small business owners work successfully with Hensel Phelps to grow their overall capacity and capabilities while managing Hensel Phelps' emerging trade partner, Head Start bonding assistance, and mentoring protege programs to fulfill Hensel Phelps' small and local business commitments. But let me tell y'all something, David is well affiliated. He is affiliated with several industry organizations such as American Contract Compliance Association, the Maryland Minority Contractors, the Maryland Washington Minority Contractors, Associated Builders and Contractors of Metro Washington and Baltimore. Also, he's Associated General Contractors of DC and the Montgomery County Hispanic and Prince George's County Chamber of Commerce. David began his career with Hensel Phelps in 2007, and he was the 2019 MMCA Outstanding Minority Advocate for 2022, Minority Outreach and Award recipient. I could go on and on, but without further ado, I want to bring in my friend, my colleague, Mr. David Fisher. Welcome, David.
Wow, 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 wow. That was a great introduction, Miss Michelle. Thank you very much. Feel like I'm sitting on the sofa in Club Shay Shay, you know?
Well, we try to make you comfortable,
Excellent, excellent. We'll definitely appreciate the opportunity to speak today with your audience. So I want to especially thank you. I want to thank Ms. Marlowe, Miss Shanae, of course, my brother, Mr. Bing. How you doing back there, sir? I know you running controls back there somewhere, so glad to be with you all today. Um, what we do, whether it's Hensel Phelps, whether it's WMATA, is all to make sure that our small and local businesses have access to opportunities. So hopefully the information that I give to you today will kind of share some insight and some strategies about not only how to work with Hensel Phelps, but how to just work in the industry in general. So why from RFP to NTP? Essentially, what we're going to go through today is Hensel Phelps Technical Assistance Program. Now, this program is usually held over a half a day period, right? But I only have an hour. So I'm going to condense it down into an hour. You'll get this presentation on a PDF for later review and reference. So I'm going to hit on some specific topics hard, and then on some of the other topics, I'm just going to kind of mention, and then you can go back and see it in the handout. But I really wanted to make sure that I connect the dots for you all to kind of give you some insight as to some of the best practices that Hensel Phelps uses to procure work and be successful. And hopefully some of those strategies can help you all have the same type of results. So looking at some of the audience members, I see Miss Teresa, Luna Concrete. If you need some Luna Concrete, some concrete work, Luna Concrete is the company for you. So make sure you connect to her. She's a Prince George's County DBE small business. She does a lot of great work in the county and for our communities. So with that being said, who is Hensel Phelps? Hensel Phelps is a self-performing general contractor based out of Greeley, Colorado. We have 10 regional offices across the country, 3 to 4 business units that we work out of, whether it's HP Services, HP Development, our water company that we do our water treatment projects through. So we have a lot of different verticals that we operate out of, work primarily in the aviation, mission critical, transportation, of course. We do some hospitality. We do some healthcare that we're getting into in this market. But we pretty much, any aspect of construction, you'll find a Hensel Phelps yellow truck and yellow banner on those projects. So there's a lot of great opportunities that we have available. So make sure that you do reach out and take advantage of those resources that we have available to you. So Hensel Phelps started in 1937 as a small business by Abel Hensel Phelps. So Hensel Phelps is actually the name of the founder of the company, who started in 1937 as a small business. There's a picture of him having an old, I don't know what kind of car it was. It might have been like a Studebaker, but he chopped out the back and turned it into a pickup truck, right? He had the sides and he just made a car into a pickup truck. But that's the ingenuity of a small business, right? You work with what you have and you make it happen. So hopefully all the individuals on this call had that same type of intensity, that same type of motivation, that same type of proactiveness to make sure we get the job done on our projects. So that's who Hensel Phelps is. So let's get into this presentation. Am I sharing my screen? I'm sharing my screen? No, I'm not sharing my screen. Maybe I should share my screen. There we go. Now we're on it. Now we're cooking with hot grease. All right, so let's start the show. Mm. Now, I don't know about you. If that's your first time, it's not mine, but every time I see that video, it really gets me excited about not only working with Hensel Phelps, but being in our industry. We have a lot of opportunities to build some monumental projects that's going to be around way after we're passed away. So that's the good thing about being in construction, that we have these monumental uh, flags that we plant in our communities that are going to be around to let people know that we were here, and we pass by with our children. We say, your mom, your dad, your grandma, your granddad helped build that project. So it's a great sense of pride of being in our industry, and I hope you all feel the same way. So some of the topics that we'll cover today: successful procurements, of course, building relationships, which we feel is the number one key factor to being successful in this industry. Project estimating, of course, commitment to safety, making sure we return home with the same fingers and toes that we left the house with, quality control, project management, and then field management, and then of course a Q&A session towards the end. But feel free, like Ms. Michelle mentioned, jot your questions along the way in the chat, and we'll answer those along the way or at the Q&A session. So let's start with procurement. There's a saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. But I like to add another component to that. It's who knows you, right? If we don't know that you're out there and the service that you can provide, how are we supposed to provide these capacity building opportunities to you, right? How do we connect you with the estimators in our companies who can provide you the projection of the projects that we're pursuing and then help you be a part of that, right? So maximizing your exposure should be the number one thing that we do as business owners, Hensel Phelps included, is making sure that we're putting our services, our expertise out into the marketplace so that people who have these capacity building opportunities can bring them to us and we can take a part of them. So a lot of the organizations that you'll see on the screen, we're members of, will typically be at a lot of those events as an exhibitor, or will be sponsoring roundtable discussions, panel discussions. So you'll see us at a lot of these events. So make sure that you do attend them, because it's a great opportunity to kind of build the relationships, identify those opportunities, and really mark your territory, so to speak, so that people know that you are available to procure work from them and help solve some of their problems. Now, it's very important to be prepared when you come to these events. Having your capability statement is a good thing to have. In some cases, you might want to have multiple capability statements, depending on the market or the client that you're going after, because not every client has the same needs. Not every capability is going to speak to the needs of every client. So you should be very strategic with how you approach these outreach and these engagement events, because you want to go with a sense of knowing your audience and then having the information you provide to them speak directly to their needs and their concerns. So what should be on your capability statement? It shouldn't be too cluttered. It should be very simple. You got to think that, like in resumes, you have to think that one person or two people looking at hundreds of capability statements, you don't really have a lot of time to read line by line. We typically just look at it and spot point keywords that we're looking for, whether it's your certification, whether it's a specific scope of work, whether it's a client that you work for. So you want to have it very easily to digest and see in a very quick and sometimes chaotic situation. I know you've been to like an MWMCA event or even some WMATA procurements or any other agency procurements. It's a lot of people, a lot of conversation, a lot of movement. So being able to look at your capability statement and pinpoint key words and key factors to be able to connect those dots is going to be very important. So make sure that your capability statement is clean, cut, showing the difference between the two. As you can see, this one is kind of straight to the point. This one has a lot of information. So in your mind, you might get discouraged of, where do I even start with this one? And I'm not shooting holes in this capability statement. I'm just showing you the difference between the two from a reviewer's perspective, right? Between this one and this one. There's a lot going on here. So it takes a little bit longer to digest and truly understand what this particular company can provide. Might be answering the mail all the way. It just takes a little bit longer to digest it. So keep that in mind from a reviewer standpoint. Another great way, as Ms. Howard mentioned, you see I'm a part of a lot of organizations, but it's not because I want to be busy. It's because I want to maximize my exposure. I want to gain industry resources and expertise and build my relationships with other industry professionals, whether they're contracting officers, other general contractors. They might be other advocacy organizations that I want to be a part of, so I can understand what's going on in the marketplace, so I can best position Hensel Phelps and or myself to be able to respond to current market trends or things that are happening, and take that information back to my team so that we can be the most informed provider of services that we can be. So get out there, join these organizations. You'll enjoy yourself. Just another way to track leads. This will be in the packet, so I won't spend too much time on this one, but these are a few leads that you can track as you're trying to find your opportunities if you're not already using some of these platforms and outlets. Go, no go. Not every procurement will be the right procurement for you. Not every procurement will come at the right time for you. Not every procurement will be with the right partner for you. So you really want to evaluate those factors based on what's going on in your company. Do you have the available personnel? Is it the right time of the year for you? Is it the right time in your procurement cycle? Is it the right client, as I mentioned? Does it fit your overall procurement goals for your year and your projection? What are the factors that are going to make you say yes or no? And I will always say this to all of my small businesses or any partner that I'm working with. It's okay to say no. A lot of the times, we would prefer you to say no if you know you can't perform at your maximum output. We would much rather you say no, tell us why, and give us the opportunity to come back to you on the next project than to say yes, be overwhelmed, and fall on your face, right? We don't want you to fall on your face or to have a bad experience overall and set a bad, past performance history with our companies or any company for that matter. So take that into account. It's okay to say no. Just be upfront and honest. Communication is key. So make sure you just communicate the reasons why you're saying no or yes, and then we'll take it from there and be a more reliant and more streamlined partnership from the very beginning. So RFP to NFP. As we all know, RFPs can have a lot of information. They can be very overwhelming at times. It is what it is, right? Depending on the size of your company, depending on your resources, you might have a 1-2 person shop, or you might have a whole team of folks that can divide and conquer this RFP and put the right people in places to respond to the various sections of those RFP requests, right? Those proposals. So what we do at Hensel Phelps, we'll get an RFP. We'll decide if we're going to go, no go. And sometimes we go, sometimes we don't go. But when we do decide to go, we'll get the RFP and we'll break it down into chunks. The old adage, eat the elephant one toe at a time. So we'll break it down into multiple toes, and then we'll identify the resources that we have available to us. Once we identify the various toes that we have to eat, we'll dedicate a responsible person to take on that particular section, divide and conquer, right? Whoever is the most informed, the most experienced, the one who can most effectively respond to that section, that will be their responsibility. And we'll hold them accountable for responding to that particular section. We'll have multiple check-ins. You got to set timelines and deadlines to make sure we all stay on track. So having a well-organized approach, having check-ins and milestones so that you make sure everyone is still performing in accordance to what we expect, that's a good start to the project. Use a platform where you can consolidate and organize and keep all of your files in one location so that the whole team can collaborate off of one location with multiple documents to be able to reference it, whether it's what's the percentage of DBE participation on this project, what is the due dates, what are some key client statements or language that is used in their RFP. It's a good place to keep and consolidate that information, and we highly advise you to find whatever platform works best for you. As you can see, we use the same platform we're on right now, Microsoft Teams, We found this a very useful tool for us to use, and it's helped us be very consolidated with how we approach responding to RFP questions and answers. Keep the client in mind. At the end of the day, we may be the subject matter experts, but the client is the client. They want what they want, so give them what they want, right? You might advise them as to a different approach that might get them to the finish line quicker, faster, safer, but always keep in mind the client's needs and the client's wishes. And as you'll notice, all of the pictures that you'll see are all WMATA projects. So we do a lot of work with WMATA. So thank you very much, WMATA, for keeping me employed and keeping me with a job. Make sure that you keep those relationships with your clients, because as you can see, it can turn into multiple projects. I've been on WMATA projects since 2011, and it's 2024 now. So I've been on WMATA projects for 13 years, but it's all because of the relationships that we've helped maintain along the way. And it really starts with your leadership. The leadership will set the tone and the culture of your company. So all of my business leaders out here, how you show up to work every day is how your team is going to show up to work every day. So if you come in grumpy, that energy will spread out through your teams. So come in with a smile on your face. You know, we all got to put on the mask sometimes. But honor that your team will follow your lead and you set the tone and the culture of your company. So I want to let you hear from our leader, Mike Hookey, who is the CEO of Hensel Phelps.
Diversity and community are core values at Hensel Phelps, strengthening our teams and our business. As a large general contractor, Hensel Phelps understands the impact small businesses have on the construction industry and our local economies. We're committed to enhancing these companies and achieving the highest possible level of diverse business inclusion on each of our projects. Our supplier diversity team advocates for small and minority-owned business communities across the country. With my full support, they implement our small business programs to ensure each and every trade partner and supplier has a successful experience on our projects. We are also working to improve small business utilization, increase the diversity of our recruiting efforts, and provide training for those business owners. At Hensel Phelps, we train our employees to develop relationships with both large and small businesses, allowing them to optimize each firm's capabilities and to ensure that our employees, suppliers, and trade partners are aligned culturally. We've received numerous small business awards in recognition of our support for trade partners and our emphasis on mutually beneficial partnerships. Our end goal is to have a thriving local business community, because at Hensel Phelps, we understand that the small businesses we support today will be the large businesses we partner with tomorrow.
Absolutely. So that is the precedence that our leadership sets for us, to be able to make sure that we move and help support the small businesses of today. If I can change the title now. See, won't the universe just be crazy? But as you hear, Mike set the tone for how we work and operate within Hensel Phelps. We are going to be able to, I need to apparently move this forward. So I'm going to stop it and then reshare it. And we're going to come right back to it.
Diversity and community are core values at Hensel Phelps, and our lowest possible diversity team advocates.
All right, there we go. Won't the universe do it? So as you can see, Mike set the tone for us. he gives us the access, the leverage, the freedom to support our small business community. Because he knows that, like he said, the small business we work with today will be the large businesses that we work with and team with tomorrow. So hopefully that will be you all. And I know it will be some of you all, because you're going to follow some of these nuggets of wisdom that we're sharing with you today to get in front of the decision makers of whatever client you want to get in front of, whether it's Hensel Phelps or any of the other contracting officers in this region who have opportunities for you. So what's the best way to do that? You have to be able to establish those relationships early, often, and then maintain them. You got to be consistent. You have to be able to demonstrate the value and the problems that you can solve to help us do our job more efficiently and effectively. So what are some strategies to doing that? What we've seen is making sure that you have a very specific, firm pursuit model. You know, work within your capabilities. Don't overextend yourself by taking on too much work. Don't underextend yourself, if you can do that. Don't underbid work because you don't feel that you're confident in pursuing that work. Go after that work. Ask questions. But if it doesn't feel right, then no go. Put that into effect and make sure that you're pursuing realistic growth, because you want to be this straight line. You don't want to have I had a great 2 months, but now the following 2 months or 6 months are trash, right? You want to be able to have consistent growth, as long as like the stock market. If you ever follow trend lines in the stock market, as long as you keep getting higher lows and you keep going up, that's what we want to do as an organization. That's what you should be able to do as a business owner. Have continuously higher lows, but you're continuously moving up and to the right. So when you're building these relationships, specifically with Hensel Phelps, you're probably going to see 3 different areas where you want to focus on. You're going to have your supplier diversity outlet, you're going to have your estimating team, and then you're actually going to have your operations team. Those are the folks that you're going to be working with on the job site when you actually got a contract and you're actually putting in work on the project. So let's start with supplier diversity. Let's start with me. I will most likely, or our supplier diversity team will most likely be one of your first points of contact, because we're going to be the ones at the industries event that we spoke about earlier. We're going to be the ones who are outside at various venues, putting on presentations like this, and we're going to want to see different things from you. We're going to want to know what makes you different from the 5 people that were ahead of you and the 15 people that are after you. What's going to differentiate yourself? How am I going to know that you're the one that I need to be able to work with? And you have to have that, you have to communicate that in a very positive way, a refreshing way. You don't want to be the contractor that says, hey, I'm a DBE, you owe me work. No, I don't. I don't owe you anything but an open ear to understand what you're trying to communicate to me. That's all I really owe. So make sure that the way you approach the people that you are looking to work with is a very respectful way, right? A very humble way. You know, humility goes a long way. Where they say you get more bees with honey than you do with vinegar. So make sure that you put a lot of honey in your approach and leave the vinegar at home. So differentiators, this is key. As I mentioned, you know, we talk to hundreds of people all the time. So what's going to separate you from the rest of the people that I just talked to or that I'm going to talk to after you? What are your differentiators? So I have an exercise real quick. Here's a scenario. Scenario 1. You want to work with Hensel Phelps. You meet me at a WMATA business event. 5 people in front of you, 5 people after you. What are you going to do to make me want to work with you? What are your services? This is what I want you to write down. I want you to write down in the chat, if you don't mind. Put it in chat. A quick exercise. What service do you provide? And what are 3 advantages? It could be 3 from what you see on your screen, or 3 advantages that you know would be a benefit to Hensel Phelps, a general contractor who wants to work on a WMATA project. You know, I'm working on a WMATA project. You're a small business. You want to work with us on that WMATA project? What service are you going to provide? And what are the 3 differentiators that you're going to present to me to make me remember you and put your business card in my right pocket instead of in my left pocket or in the bucket on the table? What's that going to be? I'll give you 15 seconds. Type quick. You can use shorthand if you want. But this is what you want to do. This is how you want to approach these events. You want to do your due diligence before you attend them. You want to know your audience. If you're coming to an event in Hensel Phelps there, what markets do we work in? What expertise do you have that will support a successful procurement in those markets, right? Come to the event with that already dialed up, because I don't have a lot of time to spend with you. I have a lot of people behind you. I had a lot of people in front of you. I might not have even eaten yet. So I need you to hit it and get to the point. So what would be those 3 advantages that you could present to me to make me say, yes, I want to remember you. I'm curious. I want to follow up with you. So let me have your card and we can connect later on, because I'm very interested in one of those differentiators that you mentioned. And if you say market insight, what insight is that regarding? What insight are you providing me? Is it something with escalation? Is it something with materials not being available? During COVID, I had one company said that because they were having delays because of trucker shortages, material was taking longer to get across the border, right? It was taking long because there were no more truckers available. That was valuable insight that I can take back to my team and say, hey, deliveries might be pushed back because there's a trucker shortage. What type of insight can you provide to us? Do you have relationship with these clients? Do you have relationship with top vendors? Like I just mentioned, can you get material at a cheaper price point that can make us more competitive in our bids? Do you already have bonding? Do you have capacity like that? Do you have relationships with a WMATA, with any of our other top clients that can help us decrease the learning curve of how to meet that client's expectations? All of those things are differentiators in our book and are very valuable to add to your pitch, right? You got that elevator pitch. That's very important to add that to your pitch. Certification, like Michelle mentioned, get certified. That is how I find most of my contractors if I'm not meeting you at a regular event. If I find you in the certification portals, that is how I'm going to find you. Now, I will say this. Do not lead with, hey, I'm a DBE. Hey, I'm an MBE. That, to me, that shows that you're putting more value in your certification instead of your skill sets, right? The certification should be the cherry on top. I do this. I work with this client. I have this past performance. I have this bonding capacity. And by the way, I'm also a certified DBE, MBE, SBE, right? Lead with your capabilities and then end it with the cherry on top, which is your certification. So now estimate. Now you left from supplier diversity. Now I've connected you to your estimator, responsible for your specific scope of work. In any company, you want to find out that estimator who is responsible for your specific trade. At Hensel Phelps, we have a lot of estimators, but we have certain estimators that are responsible for certain specialties, right? So you want to know who that is and begin to build that relationship with that individual so that you're no longer just a name on a bid tab or a company in the solicitation portal, but now I know you. I know that you may have gone to school here. You've worked with this company here. You and my kids might play the same sport or the same instrument, but we have that rapport so that when you call, I respond. Or when you send an email, I respond quicker. So build up that rapport. And then also when we respond back to you, be equally responsive. It's a two-way street. It's like a dance. The more responsible you are to us, the more responsible we'll be to you, and vice versa. So definitely be responsive. Don't ghost our estimators. Please don't ghost our estimators. If you can't bid a project, just say I can't bid the project because of X, Y, Z, and we'll understand, and we'll circle back on the next opportunity. So now you got the job, you're on the project. this is when you really want to make sure you set a phenomenal impression, because a lot of our project managers, they may have 1 or 2 projects, or at least they'll definitely be on the next project, right? So make sure that whatever reputation or experience they have with you is one that they want to have again. You know, you want them to invite you onto their next project because you helped them solve a real problem. I mean, that's all we're ever in this job to do, is to solve problems. Hensel Phelps is in this role to solve WMATA's problems. Luna Concrete, for example, is in this industry to solve Hensel Phelps's problems. Like we need great self-performing concrete placement company, place and finish companies. That would be a problem that firm could solve for us. So make sure that you always understand what problems you can solve, and then you're communicating that to that project team, but then you're also following through with that result, with that resolution. Make sure you follow up and stay in contact and become a resource for them for multiple projects to come. That is my tidbit to you, because our project managers and our project superintendents, they talk, right? And as you know, bad news travels faster than good news, unfortunately. So make sure you have more good news traveling to maybe reduce the impacts of some of those not so good experiences that we have on projects. We all have them. I'm sure you all had some projects where you didn't have the best outcome all the time. We've done that on some of our projects, so it happens. But make sure that overall, you set a great working relationship with that project team so that they speak highly of you when it's time for those next opportunities to be presented. Maintaining that connection, know, like, and trust. That's who people want to do business with. Specifically, Hensel Phelps. We want to do business with people that we know, that we like, and we trust. So you want to be right there in that middle. Stay engaged, be active, make sure you add value to our team, and then keep your commitments. If you do those 3 things, along with some of the other bullet points here, along with some of the expertise that you have in your projects, that is how you stay right in the middle of those opportunities, and you'll be very successful. Project estimate, Shepherd's Parkway. This was my first WMATA project back in 2011. So I've been with them, like I said, for 13 years working on their projects. So this will be a copy that will be in the handouts. I'm going to provide you with a copy of how to get to our opportunities page and how to be a trade partner. If you're not already in our solicitation role, that handout will also be presented with this presentation as well. So when you go to our website, let me go back. You'll go through the various trade partners. You'll go to identifying the opportunities. And once you get to identifying the opportunities, you'll see all the opportunities that we have available. Currently, we have 3 that we're working on right now that we're still soliciting bid opportunities for. So take an example of Compass IAD. We're actually bidding this one right now. And I'm putting together a solicitation list of small businesses for that estimator right now. So this is how you see what we're doing. So go to this page before you go to an event. That way, when you see me or one of our estimators, you can go up to them and say, hey, I noticed that you're bidding the Compass IAD project in Virginia. I work in Virginia. I have past performance in data centers. I think this might be a good fit for us to work together. Here's my capability statement that shows who, when, and how, and it can respond and solve some of your problems when it comes to, I don't know, concrete finishing. Since Luna's on the call, concrete finishing for the IAD project. That can be a direct passageway to get, or a direct pathway rather, to getting opportunities on this particular project. So do your research, do your due diligence, and map out a strategic approach that really connects the dots for our estimating team and solve some of their problems. Once you do agree to bid the job, we're going to send you an invitation to bid. Make sure your information is kept up to date. If you had, some rollover, make sure that that point of contact that you have in the system is still accurate. We don't want to send notifications to someone who is no longer with your company and you don't receive the invite. So make sure that your information is consistently up to date. We use Building Connected. So if you're in Building Connected, please make sure that your point of contact information is still valid and correct and accurate. So then, once you decide to find the project, be on the lookout for our outreach events. You know, we do a lot of outreach events all across the state, whether it's DC, Maryland, or Virginia. You're going to find us somewhere putting on an outreach event, either physically or virtually. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure that you understand the procurement method, you know, the various types: hard bid, design build, or negotiated price. Make sure that you discuss the scope to bid. You want to understand what we're expecting so that you know what to provide. Is it the sequencing of the project, the schedule of the project? Does it fit in line with your current availabilities, your current workforce availabilities? How does that work out in your overall procurement model? You want to ask those questions. And then most importantly, determine special bid requirements. Is this a U.S. only for material? Is this made in America for material? Is this a U.S. citizen only project? Is this a DBE requirement project? What are those specific requirements that you need to abide by in order to be successful on that procurement? I told you we had a lot of estimators. We have 16 estimators in total, 2 chiefs, 7 seniors, and 7 specialty estimators. So there should be no way you can't get in contact with someone who can help you get involved on these opportunities. So reach out to us, make sure that you establish that relationship with that particular individual, and then stay in contact with them and find that way in. Now, these next slides, I actually moved to the back of the section, so I'm just going to skip through them, but it's something that you're going to want to be mindful of, especially if you're a general contractor who might be on the call, or if you are a DBE who is participating in a DBE project and the GC is claiming credit for you. You're going to want to know the term commercially useful function. I won't go into it deeply in this section right now or in this presentation, but you'll want to get to know and understand those requirements for that particular regulation. Bidding the project. You know, everything comes down to number and price. So make sure you don't miss anything. Make sure that you are capturing a lot of the things that may not be right in front of you. You know, is this a wage scale job? If you're paying your carpenters, what, $20 an hour, but Davis Bacon says you have to pay him 23, that's $3 extra that you have to pay that individual. For a 40-hour work week, what's that, 120 extra dollars? You do that over 4 months. Well, you do that over a year's time, that can total out to be close to 50 to 60 grand that you didn't account for because you didn't put that correct pricing into your proposal. So make sure you understand those little intricacies like wage scale, market availability. Do you have enough labor to be able to satisfy the schedule that the superintendents are putting together? Make sure you're having those conversations during that procurement process so you can accurately submit a bid that will not put you in the red from the immediate jump of the project. Understand those dynamics of the project. Material. You know, we got escalation right now. Material, yesterday's price may not be today's price, right? So make sure you understand those pricing dynamics. If you can lock in a particular price, do that. If you have relationships with suppliers, give them a heads up of some of the projects that you're procuring so they can you can let them know, hey, I'm working on this Wamata project. I might need some steel, or I might need some glazing, you know, 6 months down the road to install. Can I lock in a price with you right now? Because who knows what happens in 6 months? We might be at war again, right? And that price might skyrocket. So have that type of conversation, understand those type of intricacies about material pricing, locking it in so that you can still maintain that competitive advantage when you're submitting your bid. Certain things, boy, Luna, this is going to be like your presentation. So for concrete specifically, are you going to need to add accelerators to that concrete? Did you capture that price? Are you going to be installing in the summer where the temperatures are going to be skyrocket and you might need to add additional ice or cooling blankets? Did you put that into your price to help maintain the structural integrity of the concrete? Make sure you are capturing all of those small things because those small things can add up over a year's time period or a 2-year time period, those pricing differences can really impact your margin and have an impact on your bottom line. Equipment, are you renting or leasing? Do you have costs for making sure that it's still operating safely, accurately? All of those dynamics. Make sure you're capturing all of those prices so you can include that into your bid. And then when you get your bid, stay in contact with us. Make sure that you understand that scope thoroughly. Make sure you understand those quantities. Make sure that if you have RFI questions, make sure you submit those before the deadline, because you might be working adjacent to another company. If you're a mason and you're laying CMU block and you're working beside the framer or the glazer, you want to make sure that you understand what their RFIs are. Just because it doesn't have masonry on the title, it might impact how that glazing contractor attaches their frames to your block. So that might have impacts on you. So make sure that you are understanding the dynamics of those RFI submissions. If you have questions of your own, make sure you submit those by the deadlines that are reported, and make sure that you have all of those gaps filled, because scope gaps can really impact your bottom line. And if you're working on small margins to start off with, if you have a scope gap, that might blow out your whole margin just in one RFI question, right? So make sure you are addressing those areas to make sure that you are still making money at the end of the day. So now, project estimating bids. Some of the mistakes you'll have, you can go through this at the end of the program, because this will be in your packet again. But make sure you're going through these mistakes, not acknowledging other addendas, changes that can be made along the way. No-show late proposals. Don't be late. I advise you don't be late, because we can't be late, so you can't be late. So make sure that you're staying on time. And then alternate methods. If you know a better way of doing it, don't just assume that because you know it's better or it's been used in the past that the owner will accept that alternate on their project. Make sure that you are getting clarifications, submitting RFIs, saying, hey, can I substitute this with that because of this? And kind of give them a clear understanding of why you need to make the substitution, and then wait for their response and then act accordingly. Debriefs. By a show of ones and zeros, ones meaning yes, zeros meaning no, how many of the people on the call get debriefs? Oh, that's 1 0. Well, you're permitted. 0 0. All right, 0. Come on, Teresa. We gotta get you to get some debriefs. Come on now. We gotta get you to get some debriefs. Debriefs are essential. How do you know how to improve if you don't know where you went wrong? We get debriefs all the time. Whether we win or lose a job, we want to get a debrief. We want to know what we did right, what we need to improve on. So some of the arrows I pointed to, who was the CM that was selected? Who won? What were some of the strengths and weaknesses that you identified in our proposal? How did our numbers look out? How would our financial proposal look compared to our competition? Were the betterments that we thought were a betterment, did you agree? Or were we off base? And then, of course, what are your projections? What do you have what do you have moving forward? What other opportunities should we put in our front windshield to look out for, so that we can come back and submit another bid for that other upcoming opportunity? But I always advise you, get a debrief. There's nothing more valuable than understanding the factors that you were evaluated against and how you met them or how you didn't meet them. You can't get better if you don't know where you went wrong. So getting the debrief can identify where you met the mail or answered the mail and where you may have dropped the ball. So make sure you get that debrief, and I highly suggest that. I highly suggest it. I can't highly suggest it any higher than that. Culture, safety. That's why we do it for. I don't know how many people are here are parents, but there's always someone who's waiting for us to come home, whether it's your spouse, whether it's your parents themselves, or it's your children. You know, someone's always waiting for you to walk back through that door. And there's nothing more painful than having to make that call to someone, right? Or to receive that call. You know, you never want to receive the call that your loved one is not coming home, or you never want to make that call and let someone know that their loved one is not coming home. So plan for safety. Please plan for safety, because it only takes, you know, a second for things to go wrong. So make sure you put factors in place. Some of the things that we use on our projects are AHAs, activity hazard analysis, dedicating a competent person for specific scopes of work. Then having safety task assignments, you know, letting people know what they're going to be doing that day so they understand those hazards. So by a show of ones and zeros, who has used an AHA before, put a 1, and who has not used or heard of an AHA before, please put a 0. All right, cool. Well, this is a good section to pay attention to, because the AHA helps identify those hazards. Of course, you're gonna have specific safety requirements for the project, whether it's a site utilization plan, your safety data sheets, training and search, things of that nature. But that AHA is vitally important for you to have. You know, that is where you identify all the hazards that are specific to your specific scope of work. So you want to make your crews aware of those hazards so that you can prepare for them and they can prepare for them and put in place the right controls to help minimize those or even eliminate those hazards, but still have a method of addressing them if and when those hazards do present themselves. So this is an AHA. If you haven't seen this before, I believe this is a EM 385 AHA. I'll provide a copy of this as well in the packet. So you'll get our solicitation method, how to get on our database. You'll get a copy of an AHA, and I'll give you another copy of a QC 6-step process that you'll see further in the presentation. But this is very important because, as you can see, you clearly identify at the very top the task. Now, this is unacceptable because it's too vague. You really want to be specific so you can drill down into the specific task that this AHA is addressing. So you see here, this is various things. What does that mean? As a safety professional or a project superintendent, I don't know what that means. That can mean anything. So you say using power tools. What does that mean? There are thousands of power tools out there. Is it a drill? Is it a jackhammer? Is it a spray? Is it a power actuated Hilti gun? Is it a sprayer, a paint sprayer? Well, that's not a power tool, but it could be, right? What is the power tool that you're using? What is the specific hazard that can occur by using that power tool? Injury to the body. What does that mean? Your eyes, your hands, your ears, your face, your knee, your back. Too vague. Use appropriate PPE. What does that mean? Do I need safety glasses? Do I need a face shield because I'm placing concrete and I need to prevent splashing from getting in my face? Do I need to wear rubber boots because I'm working in concrete? Do I need to make sure that I'm wearing ear protection because I'm working around grinders and very loud environments? What does that mean? You need to be very specific. So this one is more appropriate. This is how detailed you want to give it. And these documents are living and breathing documents. You can change them, you can revise them, you can update them as you experience different things. And we advise you to do just that. You need to update it as you experience different occurrences because it needs to be a live and current document. So for this one, very specific, using a step ladder to access overhead work. I already have a visual of the environment that operation will be taking place in. I see the step ladder. I see the personnel working overhead. I kind of already, from my experience, I know what hazards can exist. So are they addressing those hazards? Are they identifying those hazards? Using a step ladder, I could fall, the ladder could fail, I could drop objects from that ladder. So what are the controls I'm putting in place? I'm making sure I have the correct ladder for the job. If I need an extension ladder, I'm not using an A-frame ladder to access that cable tray, right? I'm not using the wrong equipment to perform my job. I'm using the right equipment. The ladder has been set up safely. The 3 points of contact, you know, you want to keep your belt buckle in between the rails. You know, you don't want to lean outside of the rails, or you don't want to work backwards, right? You want to stay facing your work, stay facing the hazard. You never want to have your back to a fall hazard behind you. You want to be able to face the fall hazard or position yourself so that you're not blind to the hazard, right? Specifically working with ladders. But that's the type of detail that you want to put in your AHA, so the person who's actually performing that task knows how to perform it safely so they can get back home to their family. That's the whole point of the AHA. When you review it, you want to have the employee sign it. So it's a acknowledgement that they know what they're expected to do. So if something does happen, which things do happen, they can't come back and say, I didn't know. You can turn it around and say, yes, you did. Your signature's right there. So let's do better next time. Do you think this operation needs to have an AHA? And if so, is it being followed? What are some of the hazards you see specifically in this particular scenario? Doesn't need to be too in-depth. It's gonna be like one or two things, real quick. Like, what is a hazard that you see that this gentleman is exposed to by performing this operation? And how would you prevent that if you were a project superintendent and this is one of your personnel? First is silica, right? Silica is one of those slow killers of sorts. You know, it's essentially glass, very fine particles of glass inside of that dust. So if you inhale it, you're actually bringing in small pieces of glass into your lungs, right? And over time, you can develop something called silicosis. Don't ask me what that is all the way. I am not a doctor. I only play one on TV, but I know you probably don't want it inside of your lungs. It's not a natural occurrence. So for this particular operation, the hazards could be inhaling silica dust. Another hazard could be I might get cut by the blade or flying debris from the blade. So what controls would I put in place? One, you really want to engineer the hazard out of the operation. So if he had to cut, I don't know, a groove for some conduit, maybe that was poor planning. Maybe that groove should have been put in during the placement so he didn't have to come back and cut a notch into the concrete. So maybe that's how the hazard could have been engineered out of this particular operation by planning more effectively. Maybe he could have used a wet saw so that there's water being sprayed, or he has someone to the right of him with a spray hose and he's spraying down the concrete so that there's not as much silica dust being put into the air. So now there's not as much exposure in that operation because you have controls in place to minimize the hazards. Those are all type of things that you would want to put into your AHA. Those are all the type of things that you want to have in your STA before you actually perform the work. Engineer out the hazard as a first step, and as a plan B, make sure you're putting in all of the right controls to help minimize and reduce exposure to these potential hazards. We want to get to the root. When you're doing an accident investigation, our safety folks were like, all right, this happened, but why? What is the root cause of this problem? Was it poor training? Was it that the person just created a hazard on their own? What is the root? So if you see in a tree, the direct cause of an injury, say he fell, the person fell off a ladder. The direct cause was they created a hazard. Maybe they used the wrong ladder, or they were standing on the ladder in the wrong direction, or maybe they dropped a hammer from the ladder. But what is the root cause of that operation or that hazard occurring? Inadequate training, poor pre-planning. Could it be no orientation, no inspection of the ladder? So the ladder failed, and the person fell. Well, what was the root cause? You want to get to the root cause of why that situation turned into an accident. And then you want to investigate it so it doesn't happen again. Get to the root cause. Very important. All of my safety folks on the phone, project superintendents, project manager, business owners, You want to get to the root. You just don't want to say they fell, but why did they fall? What was behind them actually falling? Competent person, I won't go through this too much because I think I got 26 minutes left, so we're going to speed through it a little bit faster. But this will all be in your packet, so make sure that you review it. Make sure you also keeping documents of the materials that you bring on site, because if a forklift accidentally runs into this 55-gallon drum and spills whatever's in that container, we need to know how to contain it. We need to know how to clean it up, and you need to have that container labeled so we know what it is and how to address it if it does get exposure to the job site. Your responsibilities, of course, operate safely all the time, report unsafe conditions. WMATA has made it famous. If you see something, say something. We promote that on every job site. If you see something, say something. We much rather you ring the alarm for a false alarm than to let a real alarm go by and someone lose a life, or something truly impactful occurs on the project. So if you see something, say something. QC, quality control. So what is quality control? The activity of checking goods and making sure the products are good. We always want to make sure that we give our clients and the owners the best products, the best production possible. So when you're doing your quality control checks, make sure that it meets all the specifications that are associated with the project. Quality should not be an afterthought. It should be just as important as your budget, your safety, and your schedule. They all work together. If one is off, the whole system doesn't work as efficiently as it can be. And quality is the end result. That's what the owner looks at to sign off on the project. If they don't sign off on the project, we don't get our last check and we can't leave the project, right? So you want to make sure that that quality of work not only demonstrate that you read their requirements, but that you also care about your work itself. You don't want to be the what do they call it, the missing link or the weakest link on the chain, and your work be the shoddy work out of the entire building. Your specific scope of work is the one that the owner is like, man, the building looks great, but geez, this over here, I wish it could have been done better. You don't want to have that on your resume. So quality is very important, and making sure you have a process to maintain and communicate the expectations of your quality control program. So you'll get a copy of this 6-step process just as a way to kind of share some of our insight with you all as to the different levels that we go through to ensure we're meeting the owner's expectations from a quality standpoint, from all the way from purchasing to final inspections and everything in between. They're all checking points to make sure that we're staying in line with what the owner is expecting us to provide to them, and course correcting along the way. We don't always get it right the first time, but if you have check-ins and you have multiple eyes on it, not too many eyes, because sometimes too many eyes can delay progress, but key eyes, make sure that you're having that feedback, make sure you're getting that review of your process. So at the end of the project, you're delivering quality work to the client. Testing documentation, they'll have examples of this in the handout. So make sure that you're properly documenting your efforts, make sure you're holding people accountable, and make sure you're having approval for the work you put in place. You always got to have a CYA, right? Cover your posterior, and documentation is the way that you can do it, because it stands up in court. You always want to think, what can stand up in court? In my mind, you always want to have information like that, because if something happens from warranty or work not being installed correctly, you want to have that documentation that validates that you followed the rules and you put your work in according to the specifications or the contract documents, and here's proof of that effort. And that way you can kind of protect yourself, you and your bottom line. Processes, just some of the laws that we have. So you'll see examples of this in the printout, but have some process, have a plan, have a way of documenting and tracking, the specific scopes of work, and then having checklists. Make sure you're not missing anything for a particular scope of work. Make sure you're dotting all your I's, crossing all your T's, and you have the right type of process in place to do that. Risk assessment. This is a very important document. This is our lessons learned. Like, what did you learn from this project? Did you learn that this material takes this long to cure, or this interface requires this type of preparation, right? How do I connect these steel studs to this masonry block up in the air, working overhead, right? How did we go about that? Do I need a scissor lift to access it? What type of lessons learned did I learn from this experience that might be seen on another project, whether it's my project or within my company? How do I document that experience so that we can address it and understand how to overcome any of those challenges, or at least respond to it in a timely manner if that instance does reoccur? So I highly recommend you have some type of risk assessment database or some type of lessons learned log. 3L, say that 4 times. A lessons learned log, just so you can make sure that you document all of the information that you gather from a particular scenario. So if you are exposed to it again, you know how to handle it. Project management. So now you're on the project. You went through all of the procurement. You were successful with bidding the job. You know, you got all your safety documentation lined up. You went through your preparatory meetings and your QC meetings. So now you're on the job site. Now this is where you really want to understand what you are contractually obligated to do. You want to know your contract. So go through your contract, various contracts for whatever service you're going to provide with your contractor, an inspector, or supplier. You have a specific contract for yourself. So understand that and read your contract. Read your general provisions. Contractors may have different contracting structures, but there's going to be some type of boilerplate in every contract where they're going to lay out certain type of actions that they can take or certain type of expectations. You know, this is 23 articles and it's only page 11 out of 19. So I have 8 more pages of boilerplate that have more articles that you need to understand and go through, all the way from payment terms, substitutions, ownership responsibilities, A, B, C, D. There's going to be a litany of articles in these boilerplates that you want to understand, because that's what we're holding you to. And if you don't understand them, when someone presents that to you, this article 23 for substitutions, and you didn't read that, and you made a substitution that wasn't in line with this particular article, you might have to pay for that substitution. We're not going to pay for it. If you did it without approval, you might have to chalk up that cost to yourself. But it's good to understand what we are holding you to, so that when you come to any one of these scenarios, that you're fully aware of the expectations in doing that. So these various meetings, you can go through this on your own. I want to save some time for some Q&A, but as far as the pre-mo meeting, you want to make sure that the intentional and opportunity, you leave a lasting impression. This is the first case. This is the first time that you're going to be in front of our project team. So you want to make sure you leave a lasting impression. You want to make sure you have the right personnel in these meetings. You want to have your project superintendents, the people who are actually going to be performing the work. You want them in your pre-mo and your preparatory meeting, because they're going to be the ones who are actually putting work in place, and they're going to be the ones that we're going to be holding accountable to make sure that they do what you committed to in your contract. So make sure they're aware of that, so they can be not taken by the blind side when our superintendents say, hey, you owe us this, and they weren't aware that, yes, we do owe you that. So make sure that they're in those meetings so they can give their feedback as well. You know, we love to have superintendents' feedback. You are the subject matter expert. So if we're in a preparatory meeting and you know that this sequencing might cause a challenge based on your experience, share that with our team. Help our team be as effective as we can. You know, collectively, we work well together. So share that information so that we can all have a successful procurement. Best practices, communication. We always say communicate, communicate, communicate. Maintain the schedule. You don't want to be the weakest link holding up the project. And again, operate safe. You know, someone's expecting you to come home, hopefully. Maybe not, I don't know. But we want you to go home safe. So make sure you operate safely, and then maintain the schedule. You know, stay on point. Field production is going to be one of our last parts. So field production, You know, again, understand your contract, plan safely. Plan safely, plan safety, safety planning. You got what I'm saying. Make sure you're putting that into your process, and then daily communication and reporting. We always want signatures. If you're doing T&M work, you got to get signatures. I see that all the time when you're trying to get paid for it, but there are no signatures on those tickets. Make sure you're getting your daily communication, where you were at, doing what, was it extra time needed for that? That's why you're writing this ticket, but make sure you're documenting that. So when it comes into the office, our office team can review it, have a full understanding of why you're billing us for this. It's been approved and authorized by our team. We agree to it, and now you can get paid for it. So make sure you always properly document your activities and the reporting. Some simple tools, I won't go through this too much, but have some type of scheduling tool that you're going to use, whether it's a 90-day, 4-week look ahead, workly work plans, trend curves. Have some type of way, CPMs, have some type of way of scheduling your work. Production expectations, of course, we want you to be safe, be prepared, ask questions, know your scope. We definitely want you to know your scope. You are the person who's putting work in place, so you need to know your scope and the ins and outs. So now this is where I want to go into briefly commercially useful function. Won't go too deep into it because you can have more trainings with either WMATA or look it up online. There's plenty of videos on it. But this is actually saying, as a DBE on a DBE program, we want you to be performing that work. The client wants you to be performing that work. The government wants you to be performing that work. The agency wants you to be performing that work. So commercially useful function is a standard that DBE programs, all DBE programs, it is a requirement of all federal DBE programs. So whether there's a M.DOT, whether there's a D.DOT, whether it's a V.DOT, whether it's a P.DOT, they're always going to have some type of commercially useful function requirement associated with it if it's focusing on a DBE program. So if you're ever a DBE and you're working on a project, make sure you're doing the work. And if you're a GC, talking about GCs now, if you're on the phone, in order to even get credit for DBE participation on this project, they have to perform no less than 30% of the work. They can't contract out 71% of the work and you still get credit for it. So you want to make sure that you are understanding those dynamics associated with it. If you want to get more information, you can go to this link right here. I won't go too in depth, but this is something definitely that the WMATA folks definitely check up on. M.DOT checks up on it too. I'm on the Purple Line and I'm on Bladensburg Bus Garage, and both of those are DBE programs. So I'm very familiar with 49 CFR Part 26-.55. I read it almost every week. So make sure that you are aware of those expectations and those standards so you can be successful and not create DBE fraud. That is not something you want to do. That's what you always hear about pass-throughs. It's based on companies not performing a commercially useful function, but a GC still trying to get credit for them. So there's different standards that goes along with it. Regular dealer for suppliers, you know, all those type of dynamics, but understand commercially useful function if you are operating on a DBE project. Production expectations, engage in schedule reviews. Again, offer your feedback. Make sure you provide us your expertise, your insight, so that you can share your knowledge with our team so we can be a more efficient and effective team to give the client what they're expecting and when they expect it. Manpower issues, material issues. Again, communicate. Foreman and superintendent issues. If you're having problems with people on the project, communicate that. You know, bring that to the attention of either someone further up on the superintendent or the leadership chain, or bring it to supplier diversity. Whoever you feel most comfortable with sharing those concerns with, bring it to their attention so we can help address them before it snowballs into something that we can't fix and turns into something that's maybe confrontational, which we don't want ever, or it might cause delays or financial impacts to the project. So what is assessed? Safe project, of course, maintaining production rates. Quality, of course, like I mentioned, we got to give the client what they want in a very rewarding presentation, right? You want to deliver quality, something you can be proud of. So that is a successful project. Did we finish on time? Did the project get completed? And then was the team successful? Just some options, some resources that one of my project superintendents put on his original presentation. I won't go through this much right now, but just some other resources that you can have to get more informed on different procurement processes, production processes, just how to be more efficient and operate more effectively. So that is kind of the presentation. Here is my contact information if you need any follow-up from me, or if you just want to shoot me an email and ask me any particular questions. Now, I will tell you, it might take me a week or two to get back to you, because I'm sure how many people on this call? It's not that bad. It's only 38 people. It's 38 people here. So, half of them might reach out to me. A third of them might reach out to me. So be one of those, but please know that it might take me a little bit of time to get back to you. But it doesn't mean I'm ghosting you. I just may have got lost in the email files, email train, but I'll get back to you. Miss Michelle, Miss Marlowe, they both know how to get a hold of me. So if I'm not responsive to you, feel free to let them know, hey, I reached out to Fish. Everybody calls me Fish, by the way. Feel free to call me Fish. I reached out to Fish, but he didn't get back to me. Can you give him a little nudge? But only if you try to reach out to me twice. On the third time, then, elevate it a little bit, but give me a little bit of time to follow up and catch up with you. And with that, I hope I didn't put you to sleep. I hope I tried to say a little bit engaging. I guess I did about an hour. Hour-ish. So I'm wide open to questions. Flying sharks. Yes, exactly.
There are a few questions in the chat. Are assistance and support available for service-oriented companies such as management consulting and training firms to engage in your company and or in metro transportation sections?
I would say that would be a very specific need. We are looking to incorporate professional services into some of our training modules, where we open up and connect attendees, say on this call, to resources like you all. So we can help connect the dots. As far as utilizing them ourselves, I would say it's really on a case-by-case basis. Maybe a project needs a particular partnering arrangement to make us more competitive, make our proposition more appealing. So there are opportunities, probably not as often as, say, if you're putting work in place like masonry or concrete or drywall. But there are some opportunities for those professional services resources to be understood better and see if those matches can be made either with Hensel Phelps or some of our other trade partner relationships.
This is Michelle. I just wanted to say the other part of the question dealt with Metro. So yes, we do use professional services, and we do put out or solicit professional service contracts here at Metro.
Thank you, Michelle. Next question, David. What if your start up and have no past performance?
I would say start small. What I guess you don't know what scope you actually perform, but I would say start small. There's a lot of times if you're just starting out in construction and say you're doing drywall or framing, well, I guess it's kind of framing, masonry, start off with like a small project. You might not want to go after a Ramada bus garage, but maybe you want to go after your local library, right? Maybe you want to go after your local fire station or a civic organization. I would say start small. You can always find stuff on like email and marketplace where they're looking for maybe some service contracts. You might have to renovate a school over the summer, put in some new lockers or help some bathroom partitions, things like that, just to give you that past performance and that experience of submitting a bid or responding to an RFP. So I would say start small. There's nothing wrong. Someone has to start somewhere, right? So just start small, start with small scopes. You probably won't get that $1 million scope on your first go, but a nice couple 100,000, 50,000 here and there. You start to build up, get that past performance. And then, then you got something that you can put on your capability statement and say, hey, I specialize in, modernization services, getting schools built up, bathroom partitions, fire extinguisher cabinets, lockers, all those Division 10 type of small, very unique items, but they help finish the project and give you that past performance.
So in the chat, there were 10 firms who responded to your question about putting their firm's information in the chat and what services they provide.
Okay.
There is an additional question. Can you speak about your mentor protege program and how small businesses can participate, even if they do not have contracts with Hensel Phelps?
So for our mentor protege program, that is pretty much a corporate wide program. So there's usually limited spots available for a authorized mentor protege program, right? Where you are actually like the federal government. We're going to only have a certain amount of official mentor protege arrangements. But what we're looking to do is have mentor protege like program where you still get the coaching, the one-on-one interactions. We actually have an emerging trade partner program that I'm putting Luna Concrete is going to be one of those next participants. She don't know it yet, but she is going to be one. But we have programs like that are kind of like mentor protege programs, but they're not officially recognized by like the SBA as being a mentor protege program, but they still give you access to all the resources, the personnel, the expertise, the networking relationships that a formal mentor protege program would have. So I would say connect with me. Let's see how we can fit you into some type of pipeline of having those conversations. But all a mentor protege program in its spirit really is someone helping navigate you through a challenge, helping you provide you with opportunities to then exhibit your skill sets and get that past performance, and then keeping track of you along the way. In my experience, I think that a mentor protege program can be official and unofficial and still deliver the same value and impact that small business partner is actually looking to achieve, which is growth, sustainability, and opportunities, right?
So your next question. We own a gym in the state of Maryland. We supply gym equipment. How do we work with Hensel Phelps or other construction company developers and or property management companies? Thank you.
For that, I would say target a handful of agencies that have gyms. So maybe you are looking at the procurement officers for like the University of Maryland, right? And maybe their athletic director is looking to renovate their gym, or whoever a contractor who is selected to renovate a University of Maryland gym. Look for those procurement opportunities to reach out to those companies and say, hey, we do equipment. We provide this past performance to Johns Hopkins, Bowie State, University of Maryland, whoever. But I would reach out to either athletic directors or, local gyms, Planet Fitness. They might be trying to renovate their buildings and get in line with their procurement officers who is looking to procure material for their facilities. You always got to track down the contracting officers or the procurement officers for whatever supply you are delivering, whether it's a GC, whether it's an agency, or whether it's an institution. Reach out to those contracting officers or those procurement officers and say, hey, I supply this. Do you see any need in that? But do your due diligence first. Look at their procurement schedules. That might already be advertised in some of their procurement schedules. So they might already be looking for that. So do your due diligence first. And then if you don't find anything, or if you do follow anything, then follow up with that contracting officer or that procurement officer to really begin to build that relationship and get additional insight, because they might know someone over at this school who's looking for that service, and they can plug you into their network as well.
You know what? I want to piggyback on that because that was some great information, David. Also, you have to understand that you're talking about gym equipment, right? So that may be hidden inside of a scope of work on another contract for new buildings or, or something like that, right?
Yeah.
It might not stand out as an advertisement or solicitation that's going out. That type of, want or need might be hidden inside of a scope of work for certain types of contract. But David was on point. Look for the obvious first, like, other gym places who replenish their equipment, different colleges and schools that are looking to upgrade their equipment because maybe they've received a grant or something, from somewhere. So, those are like trigger words, for different colleges and or schools in receiving grants or, some type of money to make sure that they're keeping their gyms and stuff like that updated. But no, you do have some homework to do the research part because it's not going to just, be out there where you can easily find it.
Agreed. Like you might want to look at like a FF&E, right? What is that? Furnace, finishes, and equipment. You might have a FF&E package where those type of furnishings are a part of that procurement. It might not say, hey, we're soliciting for gym equipment. They might be saying we're gonna send out solicitations for our FF&E package, which would include equipment, either exercise, kitchen equipment, workshop equipment, all those type of things. So look out for FF&E if you're looking for particular bid packages where your equipment might be hidden underneath, like Michelle said.
Okay, there are no more questions in the chat. Thank you, David. Well done.
No problem.
Turning presentation back over to our director, Michelle Howard.
All right. I'm gonna tell you something. I always get a plethora of good information when you are in the house. I'm gonna tell you, this right here triggers me to want to do like a in-person type of outreach so that the audience can get all and full information of what all of that, right? I'm gonna tell you, I was learning some tidbits here myself, and look, I've been out here a long time, but I really enjoy learning the integral parts that we probably overlook at times. You understand? And that becomes the part that will break or make when you're putting in your bids, or you're trying to get on a contract and stuff, and or those debriefs. Sometimes people don't even think about having a debrief to see, well, how could I do better, or what was the other person's edge or something like that.
Yep.
So, hey, let me tell you something. This was awesome, David. Look, we did have over 50 at one time, and so we've been dwindling down with the attendance, but I'm gonna tell you, those who missed out, I feel sorry for you. All right. Let me tell you something. I want to thank everybody who stayed with us today for the presentation. Especially, I want to thank you, David. Awesome job. I mean, just top notch all the time. I really appreciate you. I want to thank my team, been working in the background, the Small Business Programs Office Certification and Outreach team. You guys always come through and do such an amazing job to deliver this great information to our small businesses. I hope you are all able to learn something important, some type of information to help your business grow, because this was like jewels coming out today, okay? We look forward to seeing you at our next outreach. And always remember, certification is the key to participation. We're talking about government entities. We look forward to your certification applications being submitted to us. As you can see up here, April 30th is our in-person Meet the Primes. And we are looking forward to everyone getting registered to show up here in the New Carrollton location. And I want to thank you all again. David, hats off to you, and thank you so much.
Well, not a problem. I appreciate being able to speak to your audience. And again, feel free to reach out to me if you need any more assistance and or guidance.
All right, have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That concludes our presentation. Thank you everyone for attending, and make sure you check us out on April the 30th at our in-person outreach. Thank you and have a great day.